Africa. If you have been thinking of taking your ultimate trip to Africa on a luxury safari, you're gonna want to listen to today. Let's go. Welcome to Tuesday Travel Chat. I'm your host, Julia from Go Travel. We also have Bob Cook from Go Travel, and our featured guest is Pamela Foster from Micato Safaris. And we're going to learn a lot about Africa today. We're going to be talking about a featured itinerary. And in a second, we're going to give you a little bit of a tease with a short video. But first, Pamela, talk to us. Why Africa? Why is this a passion? And a little bit of a tease of what we're going to be talking about.
Ooh, I could fill an hour right now. I think people are very passionate about going to Africa. And if you think about before the Big Bang, where the oldest skull in the world is found, it means that we all came from Africa. So quite often when people go there, they get this deja vu feeling that they've been there before. And when you stand on the plains of Africa and you're looking out for miles and miles and the herds are so large, it's just like a trip of a lifetime. It's a dream for most people. And it's on the bucket list. They're saving to get there. And one thing we've noticed is a lot of families are taking their children in as well, which is a tremendous way to introduce the world to them.
Wonderful. I love that story. I'm excited about talking about this entire topic. But first, let's get a little bit of a taste with this video. Fantastic. Well, Pamela, let's go on this little adventure. Take us through your featured itinerary today and why we featured it.
Well, Travel and Leisure magazine, they selected one of our Southern Africa itineraries as the world's best safari itinerary.
I think that says a lot.
We're going to go right there. It's a 13-day itinerary, and it's called The Jewels of Southern Africa.
Wonderful.
So we thought we might go through it and get people excited about going into South Africa, possibly for their first trip.
Exactly. And how many days are we talking about for this trip?
13 days total. So it's just under the 2-week margin that most people have 2 weeks vacation. And it's about 11 days on the ground.
And for people who haven't experienced a safari before, how do you determine the time length that you should be taking? Because I think that's a big question initially.
I recommend 10 days or more. You will find companies that offer 7 or 8 days. I think it's far too short. The flights out of the United States are long. And people get jet lag. And you also, I think it's very important to have time on the ground so you actually enjoy being in a place, so that you can sit and watch the African sun go down, that you can enjoy all of the day instead of rushing from one place to the next. So 10 days minimum, and a lot of our guests do 12 or 13 or even 14 days on the ground. I'm going to talk about South Africa because that's the featured destination, and it's the large country right at the bottom of the African continent. Most people know a lot about it. What they don't understand, that it is a large country. So from where the game viewing is, like up next to the greater Kruger National Park area, and Cape Town, that fabulous, beautiful city, it's about 1,200 miles. So that just shows you there's some distance to be covered on any itinerary. But it's the variety of activities as well as the safari experience that brings this right up to the top of the list.
Gotcha.
And it's one of our most popular small group itineraries. So we call it the Jewels of Southern Africa because it not only stays in South Africa, but it does include Victoria Falls, one of the 7 wonders of the world. And when you're in the neighborhood,
Hey,
just drop over for coffee.
you need to take it all in. And most people do feel that this is their only trip to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
We know that's not true. I would say anywhere between maybe 30 and 50% of people that go onto the continent of Africa are pulled back. They leave their heart behind and they're pulled back. So they will do, if they're doing Southern Africa, they'll go back and do East Africa. 2 completely different kind of destinations to discuss.
So you're saying this is the gateway drug right here.
This is for the person who wants to get the family into Africa, get them going, and then on the flight home, it'll be them that are saying, hey, let's go back and do something different. Always. So this itinerary actually starts in Cape Town, and then it goes up to Phinda Game Reserve in KwaZulu, then on up to the Sabi Sands Reserve. That's an area that bords the Kruger National Park area. It's prolific game viewing up there. And then we fly on to Victoria Falls, which actually sits right on the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe.
Okay.
So it encompasses all the top items that people want to go and see.
Yes.
All the top things that they want to do is in the itinerary already. Have you been to Cape Town?
I was.
Oh, wow.
I was 14.
That's okay, but I
wow.
But obviously this itinerary does start in Cape Town, and this is renowned. This is considered the most scenically beautiful city in the world, and I attest to it. Because if you get up to the top of Table Mountain, you take the cable car up to the top of Table Mountain, you stand there and you look out across the city and out across the end of Africa. On a clear day, there's nothing like it in the world. Right. And it's a colorful, very bustling city. It has so much to offer. On this itinerary, we do stay at the One and Only, right in the Victoria Alfred Waterfront area.
Okay.
Gorgeous.
And you can walk the half block into all the restaurants and all the stores and all the excitement of the waterfront area, and you do take the cable car up to the top of the mountain. We also go down to Cape Point, which is right down the end of Africa. It's not actually the end of Africa, but everyone thinks it is.
Yes.
And you can stand down there and imagine that you see the 2 great oceans of the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, crashing together.
Meeting.
They don't actually crash there, but it's wonderful to be right down the end of Africa and look out across the oceans.
I would definitely make that Instagram moment, and I would definitely say that I was at the
now,
crashing.
Just for someone who's new into South Africa and going to Cape Town, what about the beaches? I've heard that there's some unique animals that come ashore on the beaches of Cape Town and in the vicinity of Cape Town.
You're talking about the penguins,
yes,
aren't you?
I am.
They're going there. All right. Yeah, we see penguins on the beaches. People are amazed to be standing in Africa and looking at penguins running around the beach. They also are enamored. The southern right whale migrates right around the Cape. So you can be standing on the shore and seeing a whale go right past you without even getting into a boat. So there's a lot of incredible things to see and do in Cape Town.
You're not in Antarctica.
No, you're not. You don't have to wear the parka.
Yeah,
no parkas.
You just put your parka on
and parka on, and then take that picture. I was take it with one off and then put it on. And say,
but unfortunately, they're standing on a sandy beach, so you got a problem there. I mean, it doesn't look like Antarctica.
Photoshop. Photoshop.
Photoshop. Okay, I get it. You guys can do that. And the other thing there is, South Africa has this amazing wine industry. It's about 300 years old. And it's about 45 minutes outside Cape Town. Yeah. And I love going out there. People say, especially Californians usually say, well, we've been to Napa. No, you haven't seen anything. That area has some of the finest Dutch architecture in the world. They have these whitewashed stone buildings with thatched roofs. It's all over. It's scenic. It's beautiful. And then you have renowned wines that compete with the French wines all over the world. So you can have a wonderful lunch out there and see the vineyards and taste wine. And people fall in love with that area of the country.
Well, and we haven't even moved
We
yet.
haven't
got out of
yet.
Cape Town yet.
But I know we were talking beforehand with Pamela, and you were mentioning that this type of itinerary in the South is perfect for that first timer, perfect for that family group that's a mix of people. Maybe there's some people that have been dreaming of Africa and some people that are kind of being dragged along for whatever reason until they get there, and then I'm sure that they'll fall in love. But this is a great option because there's a variety of things. You're not just safari. There's a mix of activities along with the safari. And I know you're going to talk more about that, but I already can see that in just Cape Town alone as we've started. So
and also you've left out the romance.
Oh.
Honeymooners in South Africa, very popular.
Gotcha.
Right? There are so many moments
Yes.
that they can have, not only in the cities, but outside in the safari area as well.
Right.
So big honeymoon destination. Don't forget that.
Okay.
We fly on. This is where the safari side starts.
Okay.
We fly up to KwaZulu-Natal on the coastline, and we're going to Phinda Game Reserve there.
Okay.
Now, Phinda is known for conservation work, of course, with elephants and rhino. Guests there can actually visit their pangolin research. It's right there, which is very rare. People who go to Africa very seldom ever see a pangolin.
Wow.
So it's right there. But I think it's unique because they have like 7 mini ecosystems. They have wetlands, they have woodlands, a variety of woodlands, they have pans. So they have like 7 different varieties of ecosystems right there within the reserve.
Wow.
So you can do bushwalks, you do your 2 safari drives, one in the early morning, one in the late afternoon going into night. This is where people start to get excited because now they're in an open Land Rover.
Now we're in Africa.
And there's nothing between you and the wildlife. And it is an area where you can see the big 5 as well. So I love it because of the conservation work and the experience that the guides have that inform you about the elephants and inform you about what's been done with the rhino and everything like that. So it becomes somewhat of an education as well, but it's a great introduction to going on safari in Africa.
You mentioned something, the big 5. Why don't you tell our guest what the big 5 is?
I was going to ask the same, Bob. Yeah.
Hey, let's run a competition. Can the 2 of you tell me? Come on. I can tell it. Come on.
I would say a lion.
Yes.
But first of all, I knew that it was animals. I knew
that big 5. It's not a boy group.
I did know that it was animals. It's not the Backstreet Boys. Okay. What is your guess, Bob?
Lions, elephants, rhinoceros.
Yes. Crazy animal with horns. African
water buffalo, or the buffalo with the big hands. And I do not know the 5th.
Leopard.
Okay, it was a cat.
A cat. You're not a cat person, huh?
No, I am. Yeah. I have a cat, but not a leopard.
Yeah. And people do. They get there and they get excited and they think this can all happen in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. But it's actually more of an experience to go out and search for different types of animals with the help of an experienced guide, and find something. And I personally like going out in the late afternoon and into the dark because they spot with spotlights. So, and they do it looking for the eyes in the bush because there's no, once the African night falls, it's pitch black. There's no city lights. I mean, it's pitch black.
Right.
So you're out in the bush with all these noises around you and you're trying to spot something. And usually, when I was inexperienced, I would yell, "Oh, look at that!" And it would be something like, a little deer or something. I'm looking for the leopard and the cheetah. And, they say, "No, it's okay. We've seen that. No, it's okay. It's another zebra." No, you want to see these big game, but it can be very exciting out there.
You mentioned something at night. This is probably the time when most people should think of what kind of camera equipment you're going to bring. This is the place you take pictures, folks. And as you said, at nighttime, you want to make sure that you have a camera that does take excellent pictures at night, because this is not a cell phone camera experience.
Well, for some, first of all,
the cameras are getting better on the cell phones.
Yes, they are,
but
still.
No, he's right. I think a lot of people do have an extended lens.
Yes.
Right.
But the reality is, if there's an elephant, it's going to be within feet of you. Right. So, you can go like this, click with your iPhone. But if there's something going a little bit further away and perhaps it's, a giraffe having a baby or something, they don't want to interfere and you've got to hold back, then maybe you want that lens. And certainly in East Africa, if they want the landscape, they're going to have something that does that wide view to get the large herds in. So, I mean, yes, they need a really good digital camera.
Yeah.
Personally, I love the iPhones, and for one reason. Everyone that has an iPhone in that Jeep.
AirDrop.
You knew instantly what I was going to say.
AirDrop all the way.
Can I have that leper? No. Yeah.
And don't worry, if you would like instructions on how to AirDrop, we can give you full instructions. Yes.
Yeah. Also, the camps kind of fit into the ecosystem. Lots of glass windows, lots of patios, lots of kind of just melding into the landscape around them. It's not like a hotel or something like that.
Right.
And that adds to the experience.
You're there. You're in.
Yes.
You're not looking at you.
You can hear it. That we quite often have people say, "Oh, there's a lion." Yes, 5 miles away.
Yes.
They don't know that, but this is where the excitement of the itinerary starts to build. Yeah,
fantastic. And you also mentioned something, and I just want to ask while we're here. You talked about the guides. Can you give us just a little bit about the Micato guides?
Well, our safari directors, the star of our outfit. All our staff are full time. We don't subcontract. But they're experienced on many levels, many subjects. Anything you bring up, they can basically discuss with you. And there's a continuity, especially they go with you. So they know if you've seen a lot of elephants and you're a cat person, they know that the next camp, they have to have a discussion about cats or whatever that is. They also can add things into the itinerary. Let's face it, everyone wants those little special treats. Everyone wants those magical moments. We call them the Micato moments. He's right on the spot and he can do that. Whatever that is. Maybe it's a birthday cake. Maybe it's an extra game drive. Maybe it's a souvenir. Whatever it is, take it over the top for people traveling. And everyone wants special moments.
Yes.
Right? And that's having someone in real time. And, we live in a world where things change all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So on top of that, having someone with you dealing with any change that has to come up. So you're not having to deal with it. Right? Maybe the flight's canceled. Maybe your luggage never arrived. We're dealing with it. We take care of all those details. It doesn't matter what it is. We'll take care of it. So you can just enjoy the moment. And that's very important when you go to Africa, is to have all that time.
And in addition to that, because we partner so well with Micato, your travel specialist with Go Travel will also be up to date on any major news, on anything's going on your trip that we need to know about. We work very closely together. So that's something that where you can rest easy as well.
I think one thing you're going to find with Micato, with the safari, you are going to be so educated even before you go. That's an important thing to remember. You will get a great education before you go with suggested reading. Anything that will make your trip that trip of a lifetime, Micato is going to make sure you know about it.
Yeah, we do a lot of what we call gifting prior to people traveling.
Yeah.
We give them a book on Africa. We give them moleskin journals. We give them flashlights. We even give them a Marmont designed wheeled safari bag. So ladies get a little worried. They look at it and say it holds 35 pounds, but you really don't need a lot of clothes when you're going to these places. Plus, we pay for the laundry. Every single day. We're not limiting laundry. If you want to clean your clothes every day, you can clean them. So you don't need to cart a lot with you. This is about having a life experience, not how you dress every day.
Yeah. And this is not the pictures that you might have seen in the 1950 movies about Africa where you have 50 bearers bringing your luggage. This is not that kind of a trip, people.
But they do handle the bags to the right. And some of the girls at the camps carry the bags. You'll be amazed. But we have wheeled bags, but not. When I started in the 1980s, I did pack a 27-inch suitcase. I admit it. And in those days, you did not have wheels. No. And I never did that again. Right? It's just one of those things that when wheels came in,
we never went back.
No, never went back.
Yeah.
Never went back. So anyway, on this particular I'm building
We
up here.
digressed a little.
Yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
So now we fly on to the Sabi Sands Reserve area, which is right next to Kruger National Park. And most people out there know what Kruger National Park is famous for.
Yeah.
But this is a private game reserve, and we go to a private camp here. It's called Tangile. It's got 9 luxury suites with their own plunge pools. They're on the bend of the Sand River. Now, animals like us, very first thing you do when you get up in the morning is you need a drink. So if you're on a riverbed, they're coming through.
Yeah.
So, and this particular area is renowned for leopard. You know how hard it is to see a leopard, and a lot of people have to accept that when they go into Africa, they may not see a leopard.
Right.
Here's a really good chance of seeing leopard.
Wow.
So that, plus the big 5, plus being out there very close to wildlife, people, that's a question they always ask.
Yeah.
How close will I be? What will I see? They'll always see a lot of game. And yes, I've had everything go down the side of a Land Rover. I mean, everything down the side of a vehicle. Elephant down there, cheetah walking past. I mean, it can get close. But for people, this is what they come for.
Right.
This is not a zoo. You can't, bring the animals up when you want. And again, you do these 2 game drives a day, early morning. You're out of your camp for about 2 to 3 hours, maybe a little bit longer. And again, you come back to your camp. You have time in the camp, time for lunch, time to find a spot.
Right.
It's on a riverbed.
Yeah.
Just sit there and watch what's happening around that riverbed, right? And then in about 3:30, you start out again on that second game drive that we talked about. And they go out, they have sundowners out there, and they go into the dark. And again, you're in the Africa bush, and there's no lights out there. I come from originally Los Angeles. You live in Orlando. At night, you look up and what you see is
reflected light.
Reflected light.
Yep.
You don't see
Absolutely.
the ink and the brightness of the stars. And in Africa, when people look up, they just stare at the sky because there it is. It's really engaging. And so you have that excitement all the time. And you're in a private game reserve. Again, you're in that open safari vehicle, only 6 people to a vehicle. You're very close to wildlife. And again, you have this kind of epiphany out there. Yeah. That you belong there.
How early is early? Do the early
Well, it depends on the time of year.
Okay.
They can get you up at 5 or it could be 6.
Okay.
It just depends on the time of year that you're in there. You do really want to be out in the bush as the sun comes up because the animals are waking. That's an exciting time when they're starting to get up. They're starting to look for food. They're starting to go to get water and things like that. That's why you go out early.
Okay.
Right?
Is there a seasonality to the animals? Is there a time you may see one more than the other?
No, in Southern Africa, the wildlife in South Africa does not migrate.
All right.
Right. So they're always there. The difference is most people travel in what we call the prime season, which is dry winter months. So basically for wildlife, somewhere between June and the end of September is great because it's winter, which means moderate temperatures, right? No rain. And people can get up close to the game because they have to stay near water.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to South Africa in the summer months, they're all there. The animals don't migrate, but the foliage is thick because the summer rain. So if the elephant is behind the tree, the tracker needs to know the elephants are behind the tree. You're not necessarily going to be able to look through and see it. He's going to have to maneuver you around so you can see it. So popular season is June through September. And for South Africa, particularly for this itinerary, I try to tell people I would possibly go in the fall and spring months. So like February, March, and also September, October.
Remember, seasons are reversed.
I was going to say, wait. Which ones? Okay, so Africa,
and there's
fall and spring.
Spring, summer, fall in the United States is the best time to go.
Yes. With South Africa, I bring that up because this distance between where you go on safari and Cape Town. Cape Town has a Mediterranean climate. Has all those lovely wines.
Yeah.
Right.
Which means if you go, say, in late July or August, you're going to strike winter in Cape Town. It's going to be like winter in San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So for first timers, you really want to try and get the best of everything. So either, go in the spring or fall or early June or something like that, or early July, rather than going in the winter months for Cape Town. That's one of the reasons.
Okay.
But that's some good advice.
Yeah.
It needs to be warm enough for
Yes.
our wine experience. We're Florida people. We don't want to freeze out over in there.
Okay.
Exactly.
I have been there many times in winter and sat by an open fire sipping wine. Can't think of anything in a Cape Dutch home. So, but first timers, you want to get them up the top of Table Mountain.
Yeah.
Right. And in the wind and that, the cable car doesn't work.
Mm.
So you want them to have this really great experience out there. So that's why for South Africa.
Great. That's great advice.
And then we leave the best for last.
Okay.
Which is, of course, one of the 7 wonders of the world. We fly up to see the largest falling curtain of water in the world, and that is Victoria Falls.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, spectacular.
So this itinerary has all the treats that people are looking for.
Before today's chat, we were talking, and you mentioned something about no ATMs out in the countryside, as we would say, out when you're on safari.
I think you're referring to the fact that what we offer is an all-inclusive luxury safari, meaning that all the gratuities are taken care of. It doesn't matter who it is, small, big, from beginning to end, it's all taken care of. You have more opportunities to stop and go to an ATM or a bank in South Africa than you have in East Africa. And my line really was, there's no ATMs in the middle of the Serengeti.
Yes.
But having said that, people who have to do their own tipping and gratuities while they travel, they're more worried about every day getting up and saying to themselves, okay, how much cash do I need to have today? Because who do I have to tip? When do I have to tip? What amount do I have to tip? And so they're not enjoying the day because that's how you start, right? We don't like nickeling and diming. We just want people to get out of bed and say, this is going to be a fantastic day.
In every couple or every family, there's always that one person that is stressed out the whole time because they're trying to manage all of that. Let that go
let it go
and go in a proper way.
Because you're out there and enjoying Cape Point, or you're in the safari lodge, and someone says, "I'm running short of cash. Is there an ATM? And is there?" And you're like, "No, there isn't."
Sorry.
What are you spending your cash on a Micato Safari?
So you have to carry a lot of cash in your pocket, and that's not. It's not nice.
Not with Micato.
Not with Micato. No cash with Micato.
No. So you want, as I said, this is a family company. They wanted them to relax and just have the over-the-top experience. And so you take all that stress away.
And on top of all of that inclusive aspect of Micato, I know there's some other things from giving back to just other pieces of service and your relationships with the people on the ground. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about some of that.
Okay. Well, part of obviously we've spoken about the safari directors. We have another team, and they're the concierge team. And this is basically a personal assistant to the clients. So when you arrive and the airlines have lost your luggage, this is the team that tracks the luggage. This is the team that will give you an emergency kit. And it doesn't matter where you are. Even if you're in another country, we will get your luggage to you free of charge, of course. People arrive into the destination, believe it or not, without their prescription medications. That's a big one. They have to get to a doctor and get the script for them and get the medication to them.
Right.
And it could be just as simple as broken glasses or a charging cord for an iPhone. That's the team that takes care of everything. And they work constantly in the background to make sure everything is seamless. And then the heart and soul of this company, and has been for well over 30 years, is we have a very large nonprofit called AmericaShare. And we started a 1-for-1 commitment over 30 years ago. We actually have qualified doctors now that have come through the system. But we decided that education was the way to raise people out of poverty. And so we started AmericaShare, and we have a 1-for-1 commitment, meaning for every person that goes on safari with Micato Safaris, we educate a African child and from start of school until they graduate high school. So
That's
if you
amazing.
had like, a family of 4 or 4 friends visiting with us, when they leave, that's 4 children that they are going to educate just for going on a safari
All the way up.
to the end of high school.
I mean, that's powerful. You come back and you can.
You're going home and you know that you've left this. And I think it's an incredible gift that people leave behind.
Yeah.
But that is why we sell safaris. That's the heart and soul of this family company, is a commitment. That's our largest nonprofit. We have a lot. We do a lot, but I mean, that's the big one. So.
Fascinating that they've been doing it before it was quote unquote popular.
Yes. Yeah. Long time before.
Yeah, you said it was 30 years ago?
Over 30.
Over 30 years ago that they started
Yes.
that.
Yep. It started with a little story, I'll tell you. One of our staff was in a little strip mall, and she noticed this kid with a sign like you do out here on the streets, and he looked like he was begging for money.
Yeah.
And the sign said, I need money to go to school. And so she wound the window down and she was talking to this young boy, and he had said that if he had 200 Kenya shillings, he could go to school. That's what the headmaster told him. And he was trying to get this 200 shillings. She actually gave him the 200 shillings so he could go and get a year's schooling. And then she came back and talked to the Pinto family director and said, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah.
Find a way to get these kids into school. And that's where we started building a community center in Makuru slum in Nairobi. It's a huge center. We have computer rooms and libraries and creches and women's facilities and playgrounds and everything like that. And that's been going on for well over 30 years. And 3.5 years ago, we started in South Africa at Red Hills outside Cape Town, building a community center in that township as well.
Yeah.
So
you definitely feel good coming back.
Yes.
That you've not only gone to see it, you've explored, you've experienced, you've landed on Africa, but then you're being able to help those local communities.
It's a tangible good. It's something that my safari just educated this person from kindergarten to high school.
That's powerful.
Yeah, we're very proud of it. Yeah.
With what we've been talking about, does Micato own the lodges you're using?
No, we don't. What happened when this company, the family formed the company back in the 60s, is they made 2 very important decisions. Number one, they didn't want to be a global company. We don't want to be in 20 countries. We wanted to bring people to Africa.
Okay.
And we stayed true to that. So we're not a corporation. We don't have investors. Our management hasn't changed in 56 years. The family's ethos, their commitment from the top to the bottom of the company. So Micato internally is like a family on the ground in Africa as well as here. And then they made the decision that they didn't want to own camps or build camps or that, because then I would be selling the client a bed on an itinerary that we created to include the camp that we owned, right? Which is what some companies do.
Yeah.
But what we would do is build excellent business relationships with all the luxury camps. And then we had choice. Then we could continue to choose which camps to put people into. And that comes with experience and relationships and building relationships. And so those are the 2 major decisions that were made right at the start of this company.
That's a fascinating little fact there.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Who would have thought that a company would think that way in today's world? That's amazing.
Well, I think also when Jane and Felix Pinto started the company in Kenya back in the mid-60s, they just started the company. There was no people out there. There was very few people offering safaris. There was no one to guide them.
Right.
So the principles the family principles that they had, they instilled in the company. Like Jane Pinto used to go out to the airport and meet every guest. Well, every guest is met at the plane door, right? She would invite people to come and have a meal at their home. Guess what happens today? 56 years later, if they're in Nairobi still today, they do the same thing.
Wow.
They give gifts to the guests that come all the time because they thought, like visiting relatives, why not?
Right.
They thought everyone did that.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, later on they found out they're the only ones doing it. And of course, nowadays everyone tries to do that. The same as they want to give back nowadays. They plant trees, or you can go out to a village and carry water. They wanted something that would be sustainable. that would raise people up. So it wasn't going to be just plant a tree or
Right.
carry some water for one day. It had to be enduring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that kind of principle runs from top to bottom.
Well, I know I still get little missives, little notes from the Pinto family,
Yep.
from Micato, and two of them sort of stood out in my mind. The one about the blind person that went on the safari. Do you know what I'm talking about?
We've had so many.
Well, there was a blind gentleman who
about the smells, the
smells,
safari
yes,
director giving them the smells, different
and
things,
also feeling the bones,
yes,
of
animals,
of an animal, and just
being able to
being
touch and feel.
Yeah, that was to me that was very, very.
I have another one for you, which is even more recent. We had a patient traveling with us that apparently, I don't know this, but apparently if you're on dialysis, you can travel with a portable dialysis
yes,
machine.
You can.
And you take your fluid with you.
Yes.
And the client arrived in country and a part did not fit the equipment they had. Now, this is serious, guys.
Yeah.
So obviously we phoned back to the medical equipment company here in the United States. They got the correct part, FedExed it out overnight. We got it. Now the client has now moved into the safari camp. So now we're engaging. We got it to the part up to the camp, but our safari director with no medical equipment is on a cell phone talking to the people in the United States on the floor fixing this medical equipment, right? That to me is like, this is a life-death situation. We have to get this done. Someone has to step up to and that's basically I could tell you a story every week.
From personal experience, I can tell you about the peritoneal dialysis and the amount of fluid that comes with it that you transported to these people in
we did
100-pound boxes.
Yep.
So I know that is so far beyond what any company I ever know would do.
Well, we have a motto internally, whatever it is, whatever the detail is, we will take care of it, and we always do.
Wow.
Yeah. And those are, we call those little notes that we send you, Micato to the rescue.
Yes.
Because
I have them in my office.
You can say you offer this luxury inclusive safari, but what else can you say?
Right.
And during COVID, we got to say, okay, we've had to go beyond ourselves. We had to reach out to people that had visas incorrect. We had to reach out to people that were sick.
Right.
Take care of it.
Yeah.
Just take care of the details, whatever it costs, even if you're going into the rad, you just take care of it. And this is the company that does that.
And you don't have subcontractors.
No, we have full-time staff on the ground. That's why we can change things and do things in real time. Yeah. You don't have to phone back to the United States and get the second company involved. You don't have to do any of that. No. And the safari directors and concierges are empowered. Fix it.
That's
then important. Tell us what you had to do. Don't mess with it. Just fix it.
Yeah, is that going to cost an extra $5? I don't know if I can do it now. That's excellent. That's the way a company should be. Empowerment.
Yeah. And if anyone's into those Google reviews, we have, I don't know, well over 300 5-star. Go read them. We have people that write testimonials for us. We have people that will get on the phone with clients and encourage them to go. But that's, I think, just is the value that this company provides a client when they're traveling. And a lot of people are a little bit worried about getting overseas, and doing things beyond COVID.
Yes.
And I encourage them to forget that and move on.
Yeah. Now, I know today we focused on that Southern Africa itinerary, but just kind of name some of the other major areas that are popular before we head out today.
Okay, well, Kenya and Tanzania, the big drawers. This is the vast plains of Africa, large herds of animals, Maasai people, wonderful, friendly, welcoming people. Those are two iconic destinations that most people visit together.
Right.
What is popular at the moment is going mountain gorilla trekking in Rwanda. It is a trek. It is through jungle. There's no track that you're following. That doesn't happen. Right. So you have to be in pretty good health. It's at altitude, but it seems to have hit its stride at the moment. This seems to be the destination that everyone wants to add on. I want to go. And quite frankly, everyone who does go and gets to sit with the gorillas, it's really the ultimate in a personal situation. They come back. I had a friend on the West Coast that did this, and you're supposed to stay 15 feet away and not
Yeah.
allowed to touch them and all this. And she actually had the silverback come over and was fascinated with her hair, and he started stroking her cheek.
Wow.
And you can actually hear on this little video that her friends were taking across the other side, you can hear the actual guide saying, just keep your head down, just stay calm, everything's okay. And the funniest part of that is he got tired of trying to draw her attention, so he huffed off. And as soon as he did, she raised her head and took a deep breath. She hadn't taken a breath since this animal had come and sat down beside her. So
that's
yeah.
That's
the ultimate,
the Kodak moment.
Yeah.
What we used to call the Kodak moment.
She used to pop up every time I did a talk. She'd pop up in the audience and say, "Oh, I got closer than 15 feet. Take a look at my video." I was like,
wow.
"Oh, okay, fair enough."
And one other thing we didn't talk about: who are good candidates for safari?
Everyone. What are you talking about?
That's what I was asking. No, I just want. You're seeing a lot of multi-generational, aren't you?
We have always taken a lot of families in, but in the last 12 months, yes, it's over the top.
Right.
I have always, even back in the 1980s when nobody would take their children into Africa, I thought this was an incredible experience for children to see how the other part of the world lives, but to also have this educational, you mentioned educational trip, and our safari directors do that job as well. Because there's so much to learn. People think they look at a lion as a lion, and then you find out all these other things about the lion that you never learned before. So it is an amazing trip for families, and we're very fortunate with that as well.
Wow.
Solo people who have to travel by themselves, they're deciding just not to wait for someone. They're booking onto these small groups and going. They want the experience. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Pamela, for just bringing everything to life today, everything all about Africa, especially South Africa. We're going to have to bring you back to go over some of the others.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But remember, if you're looking to book your next safari, contact us at gotravel.com or contact your Go Travel professional. Visit us at gotravel.com. We'll connect you with a specialist if you don't already have one. And we're just so excited to put all those pieces together, help you design that perfect itinerary, whether it's a custom itinerary, whether you want to join a small group. There's a lot of options available for you. Maybe you even want to do a pre or post, doing some connection, depending on your air. Maybe you're going to be stopping over somewhere on the way or after. There's lots of fun things that we can do to just make your experience fantastic and memorable and once in a lifetime, as it should be. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you again, Pamela.
Wonderful.
Yes. Any final thoughts?
Just go to Africa.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always saying that to people. Just plan it, do it, and do it now. I mean, there's no reason to wait. No.
Fantastic. Thank you again. And we will see you right here for another Tuesday Travel Chat next week. Bye.
Bye.